Hello, everybody, and welcome to Gold Rush Football Podcast on Gold Rush Football TV. I still remain your favorite podcaster, Olanrewaju Abodurin. Today, I have quality over quantity, so it's just me and Wale right here in the studio. And of course, I have PIUS on the line, and I have Kings also on the line. Kings all the way from Chicago. Guys, let's start with the guys online. Let me start with King. Kings, how you doing now? As an Arsenal fan, how is the Easter going? Happy Easter to you, brother man.
Happy Easter, my brother. I'm good. I'm happy to be here again. I thought I missed out on the show. I took a nap and I'm back here.
Making your second debut making your second appearance on this podcast, man.
Yes.
Right. PIUS, how you doing?
Well, as always, Larry, it's good to be on the podcast, and whether we have quantity, we still get quality, and if we don't have quantity, we still get quality. So
right.
Every podcast is quality over quality.
Sure. Right. Wale, a Liverpool fan, I see you blushing, smiling for the past 2 hours that we've been sorting out this studio. You just, I think you're on top of the world right now.
I'm happy because, we all know why I'm happy.
All right, before we go to the reason why you're happy, let's go to the business of the day. It ended Manchester City 0, Arsenal 0. So we'll be starting from Etihad. PIUS, we saw the game. Before this game, there was a lot of preparation, there was a lot of hype, a lot of talks, and then it ended 0-0. PIUS, what can you make what's your overall reaction to this game?
Well, for a lot of persons, they would... after the game, I heard a lot. I've seen a lot of comments, a lot of reactions, with over 60%, if not 70%, calling the game a boring one. I didn't see it as a boring game. I saw a game of two tactical masterclass. Two managers who understands the game of football, and they were trying to counter each other. They were trying to outsmart each other. Arteta himself trying to be the reactive of the two managers instead of being proactive. Pep was proactive, Arteta was reactive. And if you play the game of chess very well, you understand what those two managers did on that day. And overall, tactically, they were up there, 100%. The match themselves, and of course, you probably want to say Arteta and Arsenal have to, of course, they will probably have to be the happier side because they got a point of Manchester City at the Etihad. So I think it was a game of very good football, and of course, tactical masterclass again.
Well, I know Kings will not agree to that because we call it the biggest game before going into this game. Sure. But it did not produce. We can't take the fact that it ended 0-0. These two sides are one of the biggest sides in Europe, not only in EPL. But the game did not produce any goals. Kings.
So remember last week I told you that this game was going to might end in a draw because I didn't see Arsenal losing the game. And I also told you that it was going to be a tactical game because both managers are very tactical in their approach. But today, Arsenal played a more defensive game because they knew that any mistake would cost them in this magnitude because it's a very, very important game.
Right. And
so that's why they played like a low block and then they played high sometimes. They will play high sometimes and then they'll play low block. But that's why, like PIUS said, they were being reactive. In terms of the goals, we didn't see a lot of goals today because both clubs were being very careful in their approach. So whenever Man City attacks Arsenal will play a low block. And when Arsenal breaks that low block and try to attack, Man City will fall back. So it was pretty much a stale game. For me, it wasn't exciting. I expected Arsenal to play more attack-minded, but they didn't, and that's why it ended in a 0-0 draw. And this is the first time actually that Man City will play a goalless draw at the Etihad since 2022. So that shows you how crazy this
how the game went, right?
Yeah. So my take would be good game, and finally we can see that Arsenal are beginning to close the gap on Man City in terms of 12 months ago at this game, I think it was 4-1. But over the last 3 games, Arsenal, Man City, Arsenal have edged Man City, so they're getting there.
Well, they're getting there. Wale, going into this game, we've prepared a lot. We've talked about what's going to happen, the formations, the players on international duties, how is it going to be, how is it going to gel, what should we be expecting. What do you make of the overall game?
I would say, well, as Pius said rightly, that it was a game of two managers who, knew each other well. Tactically, the game was balanced. Also, I would say that the two coaches were trying to be careful, as he said. But I don't think that's what the fans actually paid to watch. A game of this magnitude, usually produce a lot of excitement. I do not see anything exciting in the match. There was really not much that was exciting in the match, because if you compare these two matches this match to the previous one Manchester City played at Anfield, we saw that tactics was on display also, but we saw excitement also. Ball hitting the bar, goals being cancelled and stuff like that. But we didn't see that today. As a fan, with no pressure. That was what I expected, because I'm a Liverpool fan.
Right.
But I just feel it wasn't as exciting as any fan would say.
Well, Kings, confidence-wise, Arsenal will take a very huge positive in this game, right?
Yes, because they ended the game with 1 point. They didn't lose the game.
Exactly.
They're still in touch with the table leaders, Liverpool, just 2-point gap. I feel like we're coming to the end of the season, and there are lots of games to play. A lot of teams will drop points. So this will give them more confidence leading on to the running, towards the end of the season.
Pius, let's talk about the game properly. Now, we saw a couple of changes by Pep Guardiola. During the international break, Kyle Walker, he picked up an injury. John Stones also picked up an injury. Bukayo Saka was pulled out from the England squad. And, couple of rotations happened today based on injuries, not that that's what the coach wanted. So my take is this. I want us to talk about Bukayo Saka in this game. I don't think he was 100% fit going into this game, because we saw it, or was it the tactical genius of Vardiol that kept Bukayo Saka up? What's your take? I want to get that clear, Pius.
Okay, I think the injury sustained might be a factor, but I think Vardiol did a good job of Bukayo Saka. The fact that I think I heard somebody mention that Arsenal played a defensive game. I don't think that was the setup. I thought on the day City forced them to play that way, because once they're playing at the Etihad and then you are playing against City. And of course, we must also take on some of the fact that some City missed some of their key players. I think on this podcast a few weeks ago, I mentioned the fact that this has to be one of the worst City side I've seen in recent years. I mentioned that, and I made bold to say again that this is one of the worst City side I've seen in recent years because of the additions. I remember mentioning this, that at the beginning of the season, when a lot of people were excited with the additions that City were making, I wasn't excited because I think they were not replacing players very, very well. And at this point last season, City were at this position. They were really struggling with some games. They needed some key players off the bench to make a difference. Players like Gundogan, players like Mahrez, these guys were on the bench. Whenever they are called upon, they change the game for Pep Guardiola and they change the game for Manchester City. You don't see that in City these days. You have players like Jeremy Doku, players like Mateo Kovacic, players like Matheus Nunes, who has not even clicked. And then these other guys who they've just added, they have little or no impact on the City side. And that's why I will say again, if you take away City's starting 11, you probably don't see any player who can come off the bench to make a difference. We saw Doku today. We saw how it was, and that's how it's been all season, by the way. We saw Mateo Kovacic in the first 45 minutes of the game against Arsenal. He lost possession more than any player on the field of play. At a point that when City are trying to ascend, when City are trying to progress with the ball, in the final third, in fact, City in Arsenal's final third in the first half, the appearance in Arsenal's 18 in the first half was only twice. He appeared twice in Arsenal City. That's to tell you. I mean, I think some of these players have not really lived up to expectation, and that's the reason why I made that statement. And I'm still banking on that statement. I think this is one of City's worst side I've seen in recent time. And for the game properly, I think, like I said again, Arteta, I mean, he has to earn it today. Did this job, did it very well. As at when City were bringing in those players, he was countering those substitutions by bringing in his own substitution. He was not doing like for like. He was doing, I'm going to block where you are trying to come from, and that was what he was doing with the old substitutions he had, and I think it worked for him. For Bukayo Saka's injury, like you asked me earlier, I think Vadio did a good job of Bukayo Saka. And probably that's the reason why you also say the same of KDB, because KDB was virtually nowhere to be found for the better part of 90 minutes of that particular game. So I think it was like for like, maybe player to player. But again, I must also mention that I really enjoyed what I saw. Personally, I also don't think for a game to be interesting, you have to see a lot of goals. I think sometimes when you watch key details and see, sometimes I just want to watch what the managers want to do. And that's how I see it actually. But so for the game properly, I think I saw a good game, and sometimes I want to watch again.
Well, as an analyst and as someone who talks the game, you might want to see the tactical aspect of the coaches. But I must tell you this, as a fan going to the stadium, you want to roar, you want to shout, you want to scream goals on the pitch, you know. So the fans will be disappointed for not seeing any goals. Wale, let me give you this, you know. Manchester City were, like PIUS said, they tried to cope. I mean, they played Arsenal in a way that they forced Arsenal to peg back. Yeah, but again, Arsenal also just gave Manchester City only had one shot on target in this game. Is that not a very good credit to Arteta and the guys? Or what do you think?
Yeah, you're right. I think Arteta really did his job. And
because you're talking about City, the world champions currently.
Yes.
According to club football,
yes.
And they are one of the best teams. I mean, based on record right now.
Right.
And they could not get. They only had just one shot on target.
Yeah, as PIUS said, for every substitution Guardiola, makes, Arteta was ready to cancel it out. If you bring on an attacker, I'll bring on a defensive-minded midfielder. He did that really well, and I would also say that he kind of limited City's chances and pegged some key players. Like Kevin De Bruyne, he marked him out of the game. Like I don't know if he assigned someone to follow him up, but he did it. Very well, because he knew these guys. He has worked with them. He was under Guardiola. He knows, what to expect from him. He did it well, the job of cancelling those key players.
Right.
If he had not done that, that wouldn't. I mean, it would not have been good for Arsenal today. Like on a good day, a player like Kevin De Bruyne would just, bring out the magic.
We saw what happened last season.
But we didn't even see him. Like we did for better part of 90 minutes, as PIUS said, he was like nowhere to be found. I would even say that if Arsenal are taking, good decisions, they could have probably nicked in 1 or 2 goals, and close shop. Because I saw that Arsenal had some very clear-cut chances that if a good decision was made, they could have won that game. Maybe by a goal to nil. So Arteta really did a good job. Not just on Kevin De Bruyne, but also on Haaland. Haaland was also cancelled out.
Talking about Haaland, that's going to make me still stick with Arsenal's performance. Kings. Last season, Arsenal was out. They didn't play with the Rolls Royce, in defense. Talking about Gabriel Saliba, it was Odin, that played this kind of game. And then today we saw what Gabriel Saliba can do. What more can Arsenal do without Gabriel Saliba today? Kings.
When you say Gabriel Saliba, are you talking about the partnership?
Gabriel and Saliba, yes. Yeah, I'm talking about the partnership. And most especially Saliba himself. Saliba was just outstanding today. So what's your take to that? Because if it had been another striker, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Haaland, but if it had been another striker, do you still think they will find their way? Or is it just that, the partnership of Saliba and Gabriel is the best right now in Europe football?
Here's my take on that. When it comes to Haaland, I think when it comes to Haaland, both Gabriel and Saliba are always turned on. Like they just pocket. They know how to mark him out of the game. right? Even from the way they play, like today, for example, Gabriel was very, very, like, I would say he was very rough with Haaland. He let him know that I'm here to pocket you, to mark you out. So that's why you could see after the game they had like a little bit of argument.
Yeah.
After, right?
True.
So I think the partnership is good. And I don't have much to say. They've been playing like this all season. Throughout the beginning of this year, Arsenal have only conceded only 4 goals in the Premier League. So that shows you, that tells you more about, you know, their partnership. Not only because of Haaland, but just the general way they play.
Well, PIUS, can we agree that Gabriel and Saliba is the best partnership right now in Europe?
In Europe.
Yes. I mean, we can start with England right now. We have the likes of, either today we can have Diaz and Ake, tomorrow we can have Diaz and Akonji, but they are not a match to what we are seeing from Gabriel and Saliba. Also, we can go to Liverpool. Sometimes we have Konate and Van Dijk. Today we have Konsa and Van Dijk. They are not up to this match of this Saliba and Gabriel. Let's go to Germany. Is either we have Upamecano today in Bayern Munich or Kim Jae, or, I mean, they are not. We know we know the story of Bayern Munich. Go to Leverkusen. Is either we have Jonathan Tah together with I mean, come on, PIUS. Can we all agree that Gabriel and Saliba is the best partnership right now in Europe?
Wale, sorry, Larry. You see, for us to have this conversation properly,
it's when there is a title on the table, right? I know where you are going to, PIUS. I know where you are going to, but don't let's shy away from this question right now. Just, I mean, give us the best. Go ahead. Let me just leave it to talk, PIUS.
You don't give a combination based off what they've done with few matches. Let them.
Few matches, you mean, PIUS? These guys have been playing all through the course of the season with this performance.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, they've only won the top 4 finish this season. As far as I'm concerned, so it's when we have the trophy. I mean, if Liverpool ends up winning the Premier League, or Manchester City ends up winning the Premier League, I'm not sure we'll have this conversation. We'll probably have a defender, maybe one of them contending for defender of the season, or probably be in the team of the season, and not the defensive pairing. Because, I mean, you're looking at of course, I can't take away the fact that they've been very, very solid for Arsenal this season. But taking it as far as Europe, Larry, please, we have to tone down.
Well,
I think we'll probably have this conversation better when the season ends, and then when we can have something concrete to judge them with. Right now, a top 4 finish is not enough.
Let's look at the top 4 major leagues in Europe now, because I just want us to still, based on this argument, let's just have some little conversation on this argument. Right. Let's look at the top 4 teams in Europe. We start from England, where I've just finished talking about that. The likes, the pairings right now. We go to Spain. Real Madrid are neither here nor there. Their best defender, Militao, has been out for a very long time. So they've been doing patch up with Rudiger today, Nacho tomorrow. Right. We can't say nobody. Yes. Barcelona, nothing to write about. I mean, Atletico Madrid, come on. Who do you have there? Let's go to Serie A. We have Xabi and then Bastoni for their. I mean, can we just give credit to and stop being a hater? Can we give credit?
I think your question is valid, Larry. When you you say right now.
Right now.
End of the season. You say right now.
Right now.
A fair response is also valid. We don't have to wait till the end of the season. You say right now.
Well, if you're talking about right now.
Okay.
If you're talking about right now,
right,
then you have to give it to Bayer Leverkusen. Arsenal have considered 24 goals in the Premier League this season. Bayer Leverkusen have considered 19, Wale, Larry. So where is the defensive pairing coming from? They considered more goals than Bayer Leverkusen. In fact, if you look at some of that, I don't think it is valid, to be honest, because if you are looking at defensive pairing, you probably look at a defensive pairing that has considered the least goals, right?
Right.
Bayer Leverkusen are on top of the German Bundesliga. They've also conceded 19 goals in the German Bundesliga.
They have not even lost a game.
How about in Europe though? Because the question is in Europe.
They play in Europe too. They play in Europe too.
They play in Europe.
How many goals have they considered in Europa?
No, we are talking about the
leagues.
Okay, let's look at let's also look at their Europa standing, because right now they are playing the qualify
The quarterfinals now in Europa League. I think we lost Pius for a moment there. Pius. I think we lost Pius. Wale, do you want to add something?
I think I'll take it from there.
Okay.
As Pius rightly said, I think if we mention Europe, we'll be going too far.
Too far, right?
But we also have to give credit to these guys. The pairing has been super, you know, and that is why they say you win the league with a good defense. You know, that is why Arsenal are where they are. You know, but to say that they are the best in Europe, that would be, I mean, too much, you know, to say. If you look at Bayern Leverkusen, these guys are already in the semi-final
in the cup
of the German Cup.
Yeah.
They are in the quarter-final of the Europa Cup. They've conceded 19 goals in the league. I mean, they've not lost a game in the German Bundesliga.
All right. Enough of this Arsenal 8 with Pius and Wale. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on.
It's not
hatred at all. Sincerely.
You brought the topic. I told you it was not valid. You said, okay, let's talk about it, and I'm giving you the statistics.
All right.
You can't compare these two teams.
I think in England, Pius, I think in England, we can say they are like that pairing is like in top 2. Because I mean, not because I'm a Liverpool fan, but everybody knows that Van Dijk is in the form of his life right now. Whenever Konate plays with him, it will be difficult for any striker to have their way, you know. But Gabriel and Saliba, they have been solid. We have to be honest with us. We have to be sincere. These guys have been solid.
That's my point.
Look at. They've been putting in, you know, commanding performances. Look at Gabriel was trying to tell Alan today that I don't have your time. Like, I'm here to do my job. You know, you don't talk to me.
And
like,
you hardly see that from defenders facing,
you know,
that
so
kind of.
it shows how you know these guys have grown. You know, this if this was 3 seasons ago, we can't be having this conversation. But for us to be having this conversation, it means that these two guys have improved a lot, and you know they are key players for, you know, this Arsenal team that we have. They are good, but not the best in Europe.
All right. Let's hear the final take on this conversation from Kings.
Okay, I think, yeah, they are good, but I wouldn't say, based on the stats that Pius gave earlier, you know, in the German Bundesliga, I wouldn't say, based on that alone, I wouldn't say Arsenal have the best defensive partnership, but I would like to see their European, because I make my stats based on overall play, not just.
But again, as much as I want us to move on this conversation, comparing the German Bundesliga and the EPL is another conversation entirely. But I will let that rest. Go ahead, Kings. Go ahead, Kings, please. Pius, please.
I would like to see their European defensive record though in Europe. To make a just you know, decision on this. I haven't seen that yet.
Sorry, King, can you speak up a little bit?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
I would like to see Leverkusen's defensive record in Europe though, for me to make a just decision on, you know, who has the better defensive partnership in Europe.
Well, we saw what the game produced. It ended 0-0, and that leads us to who is on top of the EPL right now. Liverpool went into the game against Brighton. It's a fixture that it's always an headache for Liverpool and Jogging Club, you know.
Yes.
But today, they came from behind and they got the victory. Wale, Liverpool 2.
I think the last 4 games between Liverpool and Brighton has always, you know, ended in favor of Brighton. Is either they get the draw at Anfield, is either Trossard scores the hat-trick and makes the headline, or we go to their, you know, home ground, you know, and get beaten by these guys. I think that match was more like a manifesto for the Xabi, who is being tipped as, you know, one of the successor for Jogging Club. He came there today to, you know, to prove himself and tell them that, okay, I've been doing this before, I can still do it again. But Liverpool actually showed resolve, and, you know, they told them right away that you can score. I think about Liverpool has gone, a goal behind this season for like maybe 10-15 matches, and they've had to come back. So it shows that these boys actually wanted to win the league for Jurgen Klopp before he leaves.
Well, when I saw Liverpool conceding the first goal, I'm like, oh yeah, this is normal thing.
It started again.
Here we go again. It's normal thing. But of course, they came from behind and they got the goal. Xabi, with his approach this season, he's been getting a lot of he's been tipped, to be the Liverpool coach next season. He's among the candidates that has been tipped.
True.
But based on his recent performance with Brighton, don't you think Liverpool still needs to just be a little bit, look very well before we have PIUS back again. PIUS, we're talking about Liverpool being on the, leading the EPL table right now with after they got their victory against Brighton. They are sitting comfortable with 2 points ahead of Arsenal and 3 points adrift of Manchester City. What more can we say, PIUS?
Oh, okay. You eventually ran away from the Arsenal defensive pairing conversation.
PIUS, we'll be having that conversation.
Because I heard you mention, let's talk about their European football, and then if we are also going that route, while Leverkusen also, I mean, if you take a look at
PIUS, I guess we moved on this conversation.
You eventually said, I told you, I begged you to move on. You didn't want to move on. Now you want to move on. Right?
Arsenal fans will not be happy with the way PIUS is.
PIUS.
Because the facts don't lie. In the Europa League also, in the group stages, Arsenal considered more goals in the Champions League than Leverkusen considered. Arsenal considered 4 goals in the Champions League in the group stages. Leverkusen considered 3 goals, scoring 19. Arsenal scored 16. So the comparison is not.
Yeah, but we also have to look at the quality of teams that these guys played. The Europa League cannot be compared to the Champions League, PIUS.
When you are making a categoric statement on defensive pairing.
Right.
Defensive pairing now. The quality of opposition would not come in play. It is the number of clean sheets you have kept. It is the number of goals conceded. I don't know, because if you are comparing 2 goalkeepers, for instance, now, you don't compare who has faced more shots. You look at the number of clean sheets, number of saves. So it's not about the opposition. The opposition, yes, it's another topic entirely.
PIUS.
But defensive pairing.
PIUS, why do you think we're having this conversation right now? If this was 2 years or 3 years ago, do you think we'll be having this conversation? What do you think? Where do you think those guys, the two guys, where do you think they rank in the EPL?
Who are the 2 guys?
Gabriel and Saliba and Gabriel.
In the Premier League?
Yes. Let's leave
Okay,
Europe
so
out of it. Let's leave Europe out of it.
So exactly now, that was exactly what I mentioned earlier. That if you are talking about Europe, they won't be in the conversation. I won't put them in the conversation because I will also go to Portugal. I will go to maybe France or some of these countries and give you defensive pairings who have considered less goals.
But PIUS, we can't compare these. We can't compare these teams in other leagues with the.
You don't. And the same way you can't also compare. The same way you can't also use the quality of opposition to gauge defensive pairing in Europe. Because if you're talking about Europe, I mean, Arsenal cannot go and play in Portugal. Neither can FC Porto come to Premier League to play. They will play what is in front of them. And if you're looking at the quality of opposition, then you have to limit it to the Premier League alone.
But where do you think they rank in the Premier League? Where do they rank in the Premier League?
Of course, they will rank tops in the Premier League because, I mean, they consider the least goals in the Premier League. Other teams, other 19 teams have considered more goals than Arsenal.
I think we can move on this conversation then.
Shall we move on this conversation now?
Yes, we can, but please don't take them out of England. Let's see you in England.
All right, PIUS. Let's talk about Liverpool today. They got their victory against Brighton, and at the end of the day, it ended 2-1 in favor of Liverpool. This is going to let me give Wale again because I asked this question earlier on. Looking at this performance, I think Jurgen Klopp, this title is in Liverpool's hand to lose right now.
I mean, yes. If we look at it, the last time we were on the show, I said this is the most important trophy that Liverpool actually wants to win for Jurgen Klopp. Trust me, if you ask any Liverpool fan, if we don't win the Europa, even though that is one of the missing trophy in Jurgen Klopp's cabinet for Liverpool, even if we don't win the Europa, I can assure you that many Liverpool fans want him to win
the EPL.
The EPL. You know why? Because the first one he won, even though we all started before COVID,
I call it COVID.
They all called it COVID Cup.
I call it COVID
Cup. But that would be a discredit. A discredit to the work Liverpool did. A discredit to Jurgen Klopp, and a discredit to the EPL, because we all started at the same time. And I think we only played without the fans for just maybe 8 games remaining. And before the 8 games, Liverpool were already leading with like 14 or 16 points.
But it was in COVID then now.
Before COVID started. Before COVID started, Liverpool was, gapped the other teams.
Before COVID started, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from. I'm just trying to be very competent. Kings, we're talking about Liverpool title charge. He said Liverpool, because I personally, no apologies here. I do credit their EPL their title to COVID Cup. If not for COVID, they won't be talking about Liverpool winning the EPL. But that's me.
That is not true.
That's me saying this anyways. But today they won against Brighton Kings. Now the league is in Liverpool's hand to lose right now.
Yes, definitely. So I think they have the easier run into the end of the season. I've looked at their fixtures. As they're playing, I think the only tough game they're going to play will be Tottenham and Man United.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And it's theirs to lose, really. In regards to the COVID thing, I think you're just trolling.
Thank you, Kings.
Well,
thank you, King.
This is Gold Rush Football Podcast on Gold Rush Football TV, and I'm with my guys right here. I have Wale here, my co-host. I also have PIUS and Kings online here. Kings is making his second appearance on this podcast, and it's good to have him around. Guys, send your predictions to the YouTube channel. Keep dropping your predictions here. Predict the winner of the UEFA Champions League, and a lot of predictions will be coming your way because the UEFA Champions League will be back next week. I mean, that's the 9th and the 10th. Yes, the UEFA Champions League will be back, and there will be a lot of predictions and a lot of jerseys to be won as well. So stay glued to Gold Rush Football TV, and also follow Gold Rush Football Podcast on Instagram as well. PIUS, we got the news about Xabi Alonso during the weekend. He said he's staying at Bayern Leverkusen. Liverpool are out of the race. They are. It's a no for Liverpool to get him. There's no way they are going to get their man which they want. And also Bayern Munich will not be getting Xabi Alonso. Is it a very big disappointment for Liverpool and a blessing to Bayern Leverkusen?
I think it's a good one for the manager, the manager himself, because all of these interested parties just want the best for their club, and that the man also should look out for himself. I think he has made the best decision because leaving Bayer Leverkusen might probably be too early for me. Even though I felt, it was the ordained candidate to take over from Jurgen Klopp. But at this point in time, if that decision is coming from him, I think it is the best decision because he's at Bayer Leverkusen. In fact, at the Bay Arena, you probably think there is little or no pressure. You win the league, you don't win the league, just make the top 4, make sure you're in Champions League, keep them at that particular level, don't go below a certain level, and then you are fine. I don't think there is enough pressure. I don't think they've invested enough to demand the league title of Xabi Alonso every season. They are not Bayern Munich. Even Dortmund, who are supposed to be the closest rival to Bayern, do not demand their manager winning titles season in, season out, because they know that in terms of financial muscle, Bayern would always, outweigh them. In terms of everything in the German Bundesliga, Bayern would actually outweigh it. So it takes something extra. It takes something different for a team to win German Bundesliga. And if he has done it this season, I don't think there will be pressure on him to retain the title next season. Having said that, it's a comfort zone for him also. That this is a club where they've given him liberty to do everything. He is virtually in charge of the ins and outs. When I mean the transfer. he identifies his kind of players, he goes for his own kind of players, and the clubs helps him in bringing those kind of players that are not overly priced, that are within their budget. And that's why you see them getting players at a moderate level. Some of their players now are going for 60, 70, 80 million pounds in the transfer market.
Right.
That's how big they've developed, and of course, brought this player. And I think he's just at that comfort zone where no pressure, just do your thing. We are behind you, we are backing you, and that's what the manager needs. He needs that comfort zone to thrive, and that's why you see clubs like managers like Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, and even Mikel Arteta, who has spent over 500 million at Arsenal. People are not talking about it. They are all doing well at these clubs, and of course they are, they are of course living up to expectation. I think he's at that level right now, and for him, that's the best decision. For Liverpool and Bayern Munich, Liverpool will look at somewhere else for a manager, because desperately Liverpool needs a manager. The club is going. Desperately Bayern needs a manager. Thomas Tuchel is going to leave at the end of the season. So these two clubs would need a manager. All in all, I think Xabi Alonso has made the best decision, and maybe he's just looking at succeeding Carlo Ancelotti at Real Madrid.
Before I go to Wale, Kings, looking at this decision Xabi Alonso, made, and then why are you not, because in football, opportunity like this comes every time. You turn down, you say you'll be staying with Bayern Leverkusen. You have two jobs right now. I mean, you have two clubs, fishing for you. That's Liverpool and then Bayern Munich. It's obvious. But you decide to stay right where you are. Do you still think he's still going to get this kind of opportunity in 2 years? Because, I understand. I mean, football changes, like within. I mean, what if Leverkusen goes into next season and at the end of the day, they could not even make it up in the Champions League? I mean, yeah, they'll be going to the Champions League. What if they were? I mean, we are talking hypothetical right now. If it goes south for Leverkusen, do you still think Xabi Alonso will still be that hot take where everyone is just trying to shop? I mean, my opinion to this, I'm not taking anything away from this decision. I just want to hear from you, King.
I think he made the right decision, first of all. He needs time to build momentum as a manager. Just because you win a league doesn't mean you need to abandon your project. He needs time to build his momentum, to do this again at a club like Leverkusen before moving to a bigger club like Madrid. Because what if he goes to Madrid and he flops? Now he becomes a failure and they fire him. No, managers don't like getting fired from their positions. So he needs time to gain more experience. This is his first senior job. I think he coached Sociedad BM.
From Real Sociedad, yeah.
Yeah, Team B, right?
Yeah.
So this is his first senior job. He needs time to build momentum, win the league, probably win another one or challenge in the Champions League next season before moving to a big club. Because these big clubs, they don't really care. They just want to win. And when he doesn't do well there, they'll just fire you. And so, like PIUS said, this is like his comfort zone. He needs time to build the momentum, become great before actually moving on.
Wale, what's next for Liverpool? Now, Alonso is gone. We saw the list of likely candidates to replace Jurgen Klopp. We have Roberto Di Zerbi. We also have Amorion. Yeah, we also have O'Neill, Wolverhampton coach as well. With all this, who do you think Liverpool will be going for? I mean, I just want you to, because now Alonso is gone, and I know how hard it is for you personally to take, But
I think for me, as PIUS and King have said, the best decision was for Alonso to stay, because for you as a manager, you also need to focus first on your own development. The fact that you're able
But what if he goes to Bayern Munich? Everything is rosy. I mean, they have their toxic part,
it
right?
doesn't work.
And also, it's coming to Liverpool. What if he chooses the Liverpool job?
It doesn't work.
Is it because of the shoes he's coming to feel of Jurgen Klopp that he's not felt?
I don't think he's going to have a problem if he comes to Liverpool.
Okay.
Because he's one of us. Xabi. We are talking about Xabi Alonso. But and he already has the materials. Even though we are going to be facing out some players and he's going to be making those.
But don't you think the pressure will be too much taking that Liverpool job?
I think it's just about development. He needs to be consistent before you go to a big club like that. Even though opportunities like that don't come twice sometimes. As you have said, but I still feel,
because next season Liverpool will have a manager, 100%.
Obviously.
Bayern Munich will have a manager, 100%. Carlo Ancelotti, Don Carlo is not moving until he has another 2 years right now. So
There will always be a time. Xabi Alonso is a young
Coach?
manager. So he still has a lot of time, to do. He needs to be consistent. Do it again. Even if he doesn't win the Bundesliga next season, he just put them in top 4 again. Try to cement Bayern Leverkusen, in the right place. Where they used to be. I know Bayern Leverkusen used to, make the 4th position back then. But now, things have changed. But they are back now.
In fact, they are overfeeding now.
Complete the project and then feel confident to go anywhere. And say, okay, with whatever material you have and whatever I'm going to bring in, then I'll be able to, perform well. For Liverpool,
on his own terms.
On his own terms, yeah. For Liverpool, I feel we don't always do what the press wants. We don't always do what every football, fans want. When it comes to signing, even our players would, put out names to deceive you guys, to deceive you guys, and then we'll go for something cheap. And that thing will be like a gold. Look at Wataru Endo. Nobody believed, trust me, even me, I never believed in that guy. But look at what he's playing right now. So Liverpool, we'll sort it out. We're talking
about a coach right now. You just mentioned the player.
We have a sporting director, right? We have Edward. Michael Edward is back. So these are guys that we can trust their decision for Liverpool, and the 2 guys that are topping the the list of coaches that we want to recruit
Xabi?
are good
even if Xabi disgraced himself today.
Look at Amorim, the sporting manager.
Right.
This was the guy that knocked off Benfica and Porto off the patch in the Portugal Liga 1, right? So. And he has been there. I think he has won the league like 2 times or maybe 3 times, and he's doing well in Europe. So these are players, these are coaches that can actually feel jogging. Even though it would take a while, it might take a while, but I feel that Liverpool has this atmosphere that accommodates whoever comes in. As far as you are a winner yourself.
Maybe Graham Potter is also available.
No.
Graham Potter. All right.
But really, why is no one talking about Jose Mourinho? No disrespect to him. I love the man.
So you still want Jose Mourinho in Liverpool?
No.
So then why do we want us to talk about Jose Mourinho?
I'm just saying.
So you want something for you don't want Jose Mourinho in Liverpool, but you want us to talk about Jose Mourinho.
Jose Mourinho is a good manager.
He is, but let's move on, Wale. Let's move on. Let's move
maybe
on.
not for Liverpool.
Let's move on, guys.
Why I think Xabi Alonso might also not want to toe the line of some of these other young guys that have quickly moved. I'm sure he must have learned from Steven Gerrard, who was doing well in Scotland, came to England, now he's in Saudi Arabia. He must also learn
and also disgracing himself in Saudi Arabia. Don't forget.
He won the trophy and knocked up Celtic.
He left Derby County, came to Chelsea. He was also fired. Now he does not even have a job. He must also have learned from Thierry Henry, who was at a point an assistant manager, went to Monaco. He was also fired. So all these small guys that have left their comfort zone for bigger clubs, dumping the gun, it has not really ended well for them. So I think for Xabi Alonso, it's just the best decision for him.
Kings, your final take on this?
Like Pius rightly said, this is the best decision for a young manager. Don't rush things. Your time will come for a big club. Just be consistent in what you do. Try to replicate what the success you are achieving again and again. And then those big clubs will be coming for you, and you actually choose who you want to move to, where you want to move to, on your own terms.
Well, guys, that's it for this episode. I told you it's going to be quality over quantity, So for the listeners, thanks a lot for watching and thanks for listening on audio podcast, on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and AudioMac. Thank you for your support. Please drop your ratings as well, and then on all the audio platforms. On YouTube, subscribe if you are watching this, and if you are yet to subscribe and tap your notification bell so you don't miss any episode when we drop our latest episode. Pius, Kings, your final take on this podcast before we call it a day. Who's going first?
For me, as always, interesting being part of the podcast again. Thank you for not making us talk about Barcelona and Chelsea.
Don't worry. if you want to talk to me, Pius, don't cut through corners. Just talk to me direct, okay? Kings, your final take, please.
Okay, thank you so much for having me once again. It's always a pleasure, discussing football with these brilliant minds. I always learn, anytime I come here. So yeah, thank you. I'll be looking forward to the next one.
Thank you so much, Kings. And of course, Wale.
Thank you so much, Larry. Thank you, our fans, for always, watching us. For always liking our uploads and also subscribing to our channels. Keep on supporting sports.
Till we meet again next week.